Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today we're going to be looking at number 3, an anthology from the late 90s, published and edited by Jordan Crane. We start off with this really nice wraparound cover by Jordan Crane. And when I first saw this, I was kind of annoyed by it. It just seems so late 90s, like, ooh, look at this super hip girl, and there's all these flyers for cool bands behind her. But then the back cover, this to me mitigates all of that twattishness. Because I love this guy. What a just bizarre little comical, surreal character. I really wish there was a whole comic about this guy. Maybe there is. Maybe this is a character that Jordan Crane has shown off before. I don't know. But a really nice production. Like this cover stock is kind of thicker than normal. Almost, yeah, it's cardstock. And I can't believe this thing was only $3. Even in the late 90s, this is a great package for $3. And then check this out on the contents page. I don't know if you guys can see this. Silver ink. It looks so cool. Also, look how great the design is on this. It does appear that Jordan Crane was probably a fan of Chris Ware. Just doing this really ambitious design stuff. Just for a contents page. A lot of work went into this. I think it looks great. Really nice stuff. He also does this weird design thing where there's these almost like end papers, where this is just a comic story that we're about to read in one page, but he does the negative of it. I don't know if you could even see that. And then he does the negative of the contents page. So almost like you're seeing through this page and to hear the first story. This is called Mr. Bread, written and drawn by Jordan Crane. I like this story a lot. First of all, I just want to say I really like Jordan Crane's style. Just, you know, nothing too fancy, nothing too crazy, but just solid. So we see this junkie sitting on his sofa, and this piece of bread starts talking to him. He says, "Hey, I'm Mr. Bread." And this guy's so high, he's just kind of like talking back to him. Mr. Bread says he's really depressed, though. It's over a woman. I guess he moved all the way to Orlando, which apparently is a pretty shitty city, just to be with this woman, got a job, and he adored her. And then one day, he came home after work and found the note. It said she didn't love me, etc. She actually wrote etc. in parentheses. I kind of like that. So he just started drinking and crying a lot. It looks like he goes into a tailspin, like calling up her friends, just like, I just want to talk to her. He was really deep in love with this woman. And he says, "So what are you going to do?" the junkie asks him. And Mr. Bread just says, "Booze, drugs, a chemical facsimile of love." And the junkie, with his junkie wisdom, says, You should try time." And Mr. Brett says, "Yeah, but it takes so long." And he flops down onto the floor. This next one we have is Starry-Eyed Automaton by Aaron Kuhn. And this is, I assume, done by a computer. I really don't like this artwork. I mean, there's kind of some fun op art stuff going on here, but it really does have the soullessness to it that's, even if this guy was really skilled at drawing, it's just, I don't like this overly computerized look. Really, it's pretty much a nonsense story. This robot's wandering around saying random stuff. Yeah, definitely not appealing, visually or narratively. He meets this monkey. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something. I like this one, The Talking Clock Chronicles by Larry Stone. So this dude buys one of those fun clocks that talk back to you. But this clock is like existentialist. One morning, the guy wakes up, "Christ, I'm late for class." "What is time anyway?" says the clock. When he comes home from class, he's talking to his girlfriend on the phone, the talking clock, like for 2 hours. And he can't help but feel jealous. He feels stupid for feeling threatened by this cheap novelty toy. That night, his girlfriend Tammy comes over and says, "Hey, where's the clock?" And they basically talk all night while the guy plays Tetris. It's almost like she's totally just like into the clock. He wakes up the next morning and Tammy's gone. She leaves a note. "My watch broke, so I borrowed your clock. Hope you don't mind. P.S. I think we should just be friends." When he calls her, the machine picks up, and they already started dating. And so this guy is really down. But he goes to this bar, and he sees this woman from his ceramics class. And he's like, "I never noticed, but she looks great." And she seemed to be dancing alone. So he says, "Hey, mind if I join you?" And she's like, "I don't know. I'm kind of with someone. Meet Julio, my dancing flower." He's like, "Beat it, bub." Next, we have Sherry in Picnic Payoff. This is written and drawn by Henry Ang. And I don't know. This is another artist I'm not really a fan of. He draws some interesting things here and there, but I really don't like these like Fisher-Price head bodies he draws. It's kind of off-putting. But it looks like this guy's got some skills, like everything he draws, but he chooses to draw in this goofy style. I imagine some people must like it. I don't really dig it. So Sherry's driving around with her friend Kat. They go to this nice secluded point near a cliff. And obviously this is just this weird little universe that they inhabit, because there's this weird creature here. He's playing golf on these 3 little platforms. Look at this cloud here, though. At first I was just like, what the hell is that? But I think it's supposed to be a cloud, but it looks like graffiti lettering. I don't know. There's clouds in the back, though, drawn normally, so I don't know what the hell it's supposed to be. It's inexplicable, but I kind of like it, just how odd it is and interesting. So they yell over to this guy. Says, "Hey, is it okay if we have a picnic here? You're free to join us if you want." And this little guy can't really speak. The snowman comes out of this little house and says, "Mr. Yarby, is there a problem out there?" So I guess that little lizard guy is named Mr. Yarby. So they say, "Hey, can we have a picnic here?" And he says, "Sure, but you got to give me and Mr. Yarby a lift to the city in your car later on." So they have a nice picnic, and they get in their car, and they're heading back to the city. This next one's called Slow Jams by David Choe, the accidental millionaire. And there's not many comic stories by David Choe. In fact, I don't know if this is the only one, but this is a good story. I remember reading this years ago before I knew who David Choe was, and I was just like, yeah, I definitely like this. But, he's probably not going to draw comics anymore. It's beneath him. So it's basically an autobiography story, kind of jumping around in this guy's life, when he's a young guy in his 20s. I like the scene where he's driving late at night and there's barely any cars on the road. He's driving a U-Haul, and when he turns the headlights off, he feels like he's floating in space. I don't know if this is a US 1 homage, but that's a great panel, I think. So here he is. His name is Dixon Ticonderoga, but it sounds like it's David Choe from the stories I've heard about him. Just pretty aimless youth, going from job to job, artistic. His job is like making fancy, crazy jewelry for rappers. He works at this for this label. But he's returning to LA for the summer. Man, really nice skills. He can draw. He's hanging out with his family, but they're driving him crazy, just like parents do, So he gets this little crappy apartment. He has insomnia for a week and starts losing his mind. It's really well written. This is I'm not a big fan of autobio stuff for the most part, but this is good autobio. Really nice little loose sketch of this fish. And then he has this sequence. This thing is brilliant, where he's lying in bed in his crappy little apartment. He's got no pornography, but he really wants to jerk off. So he's going through all of his memories. Old girlfriends, girls he saw on the bus a week before. And he's putting how many strokes and how many seconds to each little fantasy and memory. The typical blonde-haired, blue-eyed, big-titted bimbo at the corner payphone, 1 stroke, 0.5 seconds. His ex-girlfriend, 20 strokes, 22 seconds. So it's all like this mathematical equation. A cartoon chick from the funny pages. Cartoon chicks are so good. Not many guys are this honest in their autobiographies, and this is like so true. God, at that age, it was pretty much all I did. I didn't do much in my life. And we see his orgasm achieved here. 225 strokes, 2 minutes, 31 seconds. So his friend Ian is in from out of town, an old friend, and they're going to hang out. He's going to hang out with Ian and Ian's girlfriend, Jenny. So, it's like, just not a lot happens. It's just but I mean, this guy definitely has this supposed Dixon Ticonderoga fellow, which is probably David Choe, has a more interesting life than I had in my 20s. He's way cooler. So he gets to the house, and it turns out there's a party going on. And it takes him like a few seconds to scan the crowd. It's all of Jenny's co-workers. And he's like, I hate all these people. I do not like them. I should mention, he misspells a lot of things, and at first I was very annoyed. I hate when people do that, like try to be cool. But he almost does it in like a James Joyce way, where he misspells things for a reason so it has a second meaning. He's talking about a cool blue LA night for some reason. Instead of fierce for some reason, fearsome, because it's a little scary. It feels sure, real, and magical. So he does that throughout the story. Sometimes it is just annoying. It's just like, okay, why'd you misspell that? It just makes it hard to read. But he does try to like give a lot of double meanings to all the words. And then across the room, he sees this girl, Yunmi. I guess he just met her. And then a few minutes later, when he looks back, he realizes, oh my God, I'm totally in love with her. Let me read a little of this to you. I mean, the whole room was spinning, for Christ's sakes. Slow motion and all. It was really fucking immense. Don't you hate it when you're suddenly hit with new idea or angle on life, and you're trying to sort all the gibberish and mundane thoughts with the abstract pieces, and you're caught off guard, yet it's really exciting. All you need is a moment of quiet time. I was feeling weak in my knees and heart, yet my whole body felt alive and shaken. My spider senses were tingling. I hadn't felt like this towards someone since junior high. It's strange how life throws love your way when you look like shit and are totally unprepared. And so I don't know if he was planning on continuing this, showing how they fall in love, but as far as I know, this is it. But I could be wrong. I probably am wrong. But I like this one. I mean, I wish he did more comics, David Choe. We got a nice little story here from Brian Ralph, Shitstorm. Actually, I shouldn't say a nice little story. It's not much of a story. But I do like Brian Ralph's cartooning. We see this kind of like post-apocalyptic, I don't know if he's a mutant or a zombie, walking through this the wreckage of a city. He meets these other three mutants, and they find a TV set, and they're trying to break it. It seems like this TV set is indestructible, though. They're hitting it with rocks, hitting it with a piece of wood, and finally they throw it, and it appears that it's smashed to pieces. And they're looking down on it, and that's the whole story. So maybe some kind of heavy meaning. This next one's by Jordan Crane. Can I help you? Man, he's really good at logos. Just an order. I wonder if he's probably a graphic designer. That's probably his day job. And this is just about this like Swami guru guy who's full of shit. And it's first person narration. Or I'm sorry, is that second person? He's talking to the narrator. Next, we have part 2 of the Sherry story. This one's called A Small Favor, once again by Henry Ng. So they're driving into the city, and they drop off Mr. Yerby and the snowman at this house. The snowman says, oh, I forgot the new codes, the security codes. So Sherry says, I guess we'll be having guests for the night. And her friend / roommate Kat's like, oh, no, come on, Sherry. And we see them driving through the city. Like I said, it's obviously this different world. This is like total sci-fi city. Pretty cool. This guy definitely can draw some neat stuff. But, like, once again, I'm sorry. I just hate these characters. They look like something from, like, I don't know, some bad newspaper comic strip. And the snowman is very skeptical. He's like, why are they being so nice to us? They're up to something. They probably want something in return. That's how people are. And then we see Sherry in bed. And it looks like she's a clockwork girl. She's got this little switch in her chest. A crank. And she says, I wish I had something to hold on to. And that's it. And I don't know if this was supposed to continue. I have no idea. Next, we have another Jordan Crane one-pager, Captain Castration versus the Dickless Wonder. These two superheroes. Stay your tracks, vile breeder. Prepare to be neutered. And he's like, I think there's a misunderstanding. I have no genitalia. He's like, oh, sorry if I startled you. Have a pleasant day. So weird. Speaking of nice graphic design, look at this logo. Not proposing any solutions and finding none aplenty. And we see this guy just like strangling this guy and punching him in the face and jumping on his body. And then he takes a gun and shoots him multiple times. And then he even throws the empty gun at his head. And then he thinks, I'm so lonely. And on and on. Very odd. But I kind of like it. This last story is by Jordan Crane, Floating. And this is kind of one of those little, like, quiet tales of just some dude. I don't know if it's autobi or not. It's definitely drawn as fiction. Kind of reminds me of like early Adrian Tomine, that kind of stuff. But it's pretty good. I mean, obviously, it's Jordan Crane's doing great cartooning and pretty well written. As he's walking down the street, he says, there's a moment that falls between each step, an instant when the forward inertia of the body is inevitable. The step has been committed to, yet the action remains unresolved. Between each step, there is a weightlessness, like the silence between words, the space between letters. So it's kind of poetic, the narration. But the situation is very mundane. This guy's kind of down. He's out of work. Let me double check on that. Yeah, he's unemployed, and he's going to the liquor store to get some sucker. And this bag lady asks him for chains. He doesn't have any, so she says, oh, maybe on the way out, you'll get me. He's like, sure. But in his head, he's thinking the middle finger, pictogram. Very badly drawn one, by the way. Hate to be a jerk. And there's these two guys chatting inside, the proprietor and some layabout who just hangs out there chatting with him all night. And he's got an out-of-state ID, so he can't buy his beer. So he pretends to return the beers to where he found them, but he puts a bunch of them in his jacket. And this guy's so busy gabbing, he doesn't even notice. So when he leaves, he got some change from the guy before he left, and he gives it to that lady. This time there's two middle fingers heading her way. I guess he feels like pressured into giving her change and doesn't like it. So we see him walking through the streets, and he's thinking about how, I guess this guy has a problem with both kinds of speed, the drug and the physical force. He's been in like 11 accidents. He's sent 11 of his family and friends off to a better place. So that's how bad he is at driving. He's basically killed 11 people. He's broken his rib cage so many times that his cartilage and his muscles and his ribs have kind of fused together into this like hardened mass. We see this little, it's in kind of thought balloon thing, so I don't know if this is a reminiscence or a little daydream, but we see these really well-drawn cartoon characters, and the narrator is like, Adeline, and she's having a really bad day. So he's like, quick, have a beer. And that makes it all better. All of a sudden, she's happy as a clam. And then all of a sudden, he sees this door open up. This guy runs out of this place, throws something in the garbage. And then this guy comes out with another, he's got a gun. And he's shooting at the guy. Obviously, the guy was trying to steal something from him. But the first shot, when he's trying to shoot this guy, the running guy, he accidentally shot our narrator. But he didn't die because of his condition I told you about. I like the layout on these two pages. There's some fun, light storytelling. So then he's sitting there kind of dazed. He's wounded, but I guess he's not, the bullet kind of grazed him because his muscle and cartilage is so like fused and hardened. And he reaches into the garbage pail to find that package that the guy dropped off. And then this woman shows up. And she says, what the hell are you doing here? And he says, hold on a second. I got you a beer. And she's like, yay. So it says continued. So I don't know if I don't know if this guy ever finished it. I don't know if he discontinued anywhere, but pretty intriguing. I definitely want to read what happens next. We see some more of those end papers. Once again, mirroring what's on the other side of the page. And we have one more little one-pager from Jordan Crane. Punk Rock Rocket Boy in All I Want Is More Beer. And little Rocket Boy sees a guy leaving this liquor store with some beers, and he says, can I have one, please? And the guy's like, fuck you, you little pissant. I should whoop you up the side of the head. And all of a sudden, a TV drops on this guy's head, totally killing him. And Rocket Boy says, this is terrible. And he looks up. He says, you broke the bottles. And the guy on top of the building says, damn. And he walks away sighing. This is also printed on silver ink. I don't know if you can tell. So that's it, guys. Number 3. I usually like to show off all the issues of a series, or at least the bulk of them, but sorry, this is the only one I have. Hope you enjoyed it, though, and I don't even know if Nan continued after this. I have no idea. I could have looked that up, I guess, but I'm a lazy old man. So thanks for watching, guys, and also thank you for liking and or subscribing if you have. And I guess that's it for this episode. So I do hope to see you next time here at the Herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.